Welcome back to another episode. As promised, we are going to focus today's on the first week of spring training games for the San Francisco Giants and kind of who has stood out so far. The team, as it stands, they just lost to the Padres today. They are 1-5-2 because you can't have ties in spring training. So not a whole lot of good has come out of there so far. They've been playing a lot of sloppy baseball. A lot of the same kind of careless mistakes we witnessed a lot of in 2023. But it is spring training. You have a roster of 70 people almost at these games. Almost any given day, you only have a couple starters out there. So we're not putting a ton of stock in that. Lots of teams have had bad spring trainings to have good seasons, and a lot of teams have had good spring trainings just to have a bad regular season. So the games don't really matter. They don't mean a ton. But we're going to kind of focus more on individual performances and which guys have stood out so far. There have been quite a few. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about each guy, just going to kind of mention who has stood out and what they've kind of done so far. So the number one guy that has stood out, and I think this is pretty obvious, is going to be Luis Matos. Um, he showed up 14 pounds more muscle, showed up looking ready to play. He looks like a guy that's looking to take a job and force Farhan into making some difficult decisions. So far in spring training, he's 5 for 13, which comes out to 385 average, 1539 OPS. I mean, obviously, these are small sample sizes, but he's at 3 home runs and a double in those 5 hits. Tied for the lead league in home runs in spring training. One of them came 109 miles an hour off the bat, which is harder than any ball he hit last year. I know Andrew Baggerly had a tweet that went out, and it was in his article in The Athletic, mentioning that he is swinging a bat that's an ounce heavier. It's a little longer and an ounce heavier. And kind of looking at the swings he's made, it doesn't appear that he's lost any bat speed whatsoever. So pretty obvious that he's gonna have a little bit more thump in his bat. And it's 1 week. So, nobody's trading away Austin Slater for this 1 week or one of the other outfielders. But if he keeps this up throughout spring, um, I do think he's forcing the issue, and it's going to get to a point where they're going to have to move someone because if he puts together a massive spring and they start him in AAA and he's doing the same thing there, I mean, that's just criminal, quite frankly. So none of our outfielders in the corners, whether it's Conforto, Yastrzemski, Slater, are good enough players that you should be holding back a 22-year-old that was not overwhelmed last season as a 21-year-old rookie. And it was pretty clear that the one thing he needed to do was get a little bit stronger, and he has answered the bell and done that. This is a guy that could be, he looks the part right now as a guy that could end up being one of their better players as a 22-year-old and really be a cornerstone piece for the future. Not to overreact or anything, but he's the number one standout thus far, and he has 0 strikeouts, which we all knew about his elite bat to ball skills. Number 2 would be Jung-Hoo Lee, who I think everyone kind of expects a adjustment period. I don't think he's just going to show up and rake from day one, but so far the returns have been very nice out of him. 4 for 9, comes out to a 444 average, 1333 OPS, 1 home run, 1 double, and he's only struck out 1 time. Obviously his calling card is his bat to ball skills and his elite contact rate. His speed has looked really good. Had when they on the home run he hit, which came at about 110 off the bat, miles per hour off the bat. They clocked him at 4.1 seconds home to first because you could tell he wasn't sure if it had enough height, and he was sniffing out 3 bags coming out of the box. So he can fly. So really showing off, really showing why they gave him $113 million contract. So that's very promising. And obviously, the guys that you really want to see do well are really doing well right now. So, next one is going to be Jorge Soler. Nothing, overly incredible there. He's 5 for 10 with 5 singles. Hasn't really done a ton of damage yet. But, anytime you go 5 for 10 with a walk, and you have an 1045 OPS, that's a really good week, and nobody's going to complain about not hitting a home run in that. and only 2 strikeouts so far. Now we're going to get to some of the guys that are doing really well, but they're probably, and I'm starting with position players, obviously. We're going to get to a couple guys that are doing pretty well, but are probably, unlikely to make the roster come opening day. The first being JD Davis, who actually is having a really nice spring. It's 4 for 9, 2 home runs, 2 walks, only 1 strikeout. It comes out to a 1656 OPS through a week. But, they just signed Matt Chapman. JD Davis's time is probably coming to a close with the Giants. As we mentioned yesterday, it is purely a numbers game, and there is not room on this roster for both him and Wilmer Flores because they do need a starting shortstop and they do need um, and you do need a utility guy that can back up shortstop. So there's just simply not room. I've seen suggestions from a few people that why don't you just have Matt Chapman play shortstop? To which my reply would be, um, it's you. Matt Chapman is one of the best defensive third basemen in the world. For me, if you're going to take a guy that is a Gold Glove third baseman and just shove him at shortstop because he quote can play it, is the equivalent of saying I'm going to pay Steph Curry to be my kicker. Like you don't. You pay them to do what they do best. So you don't sign Matt Chapman to play shortstop. Simple as that. Um, so JD Davis' time's coming to probably a close, but he's having a really nice spring so far. Next guy is going to be Ismail Mungia, who is a 25-year-old left fielder. He played in Double A last season, hit 282, 7 home runs, 747 OPS. He'll probably be in Triple A this year. He's had a nice, showing so far. He's 5 for 8 with a home run and 3 stolen bases. So some nice speed. Comes out to a 1667 OPS. So get some of those fun numbers in the first week with the small sample sizes. But nice showing. Wanted to give him a shout out. He'll be probably in AAA though. Joey Bart has also had a nice showing so far. 3 for 6, all singles, but 3 for 6 with 2 walks, only 2 strikeouts. So he's playing for a job likely elsewhere. I mean, the odds of him making the team are extremely slim, barring an injury or really Patrick Bailey would have to completely fall flat on his face, and Bart would have to have some incredible spring, and to the point where Bob Melvin flat out tells Farhan that he's his best option for the season. So incredibly unlikely. He's likely going to get traded elsewhere, with Tom Murphy being the backup. So, but wanted to give it, we're here to be fair. He's having a nice spring so far. Bailey did go 1 for 5 with a grand slam. Jumped all over a Double A pitcher. It sounded like his first pitch fastball and hit it a long ways. So Bailey's doing his thing so far. Very small sample size. Now we're going to move on to the pitchers. Only one starter on my list. Logan Webb's had a good, okay spring, got touched up a little bit in his first start. Hicks did some nice things, had like 9 swing and misses. But the one guy that's like cemented in the rotation this season that's really shown well so far in spring training would be Kyle Harrison. He's thrown 4 1/3 innings in 2 starts, has 6 strikeouts, did walk 3 guys in his second outing, but he's got a 0.92 whip so far. His first outing was, I mean, he hit a batter that immediately got thrown out at second on a strike him out, throw him out. But his first outing, he was basically unhittable. Tom Murphy caught him, said he basically could have just thrown fastballs, and the Rangers had no chance at touching him. So went 2 innings, kept the pitch count down, mowed right through them. Had a really great first outing. Second outing, 2 1/3, gave up an earned run. He did walk 3 batters. A little bit of the control issues showed their head in that outing. So as we've mentioned a bunch, that's going to be the main thing with Kyle Harrison is he's got to throw strikes. Keep the pitch counts down, hopefully get through 6 innings or get into the 6th inning every start is the goal. But he has looked very, unhittable at times in Arizona so far. I'm going to go over kind of 3 of the, we're going to talk about 3 of the bullpen guys, kind of rope them in together here. Tyler Rogers, Taylor Rogers, and Camilo Duvall. They've combined for 5 2/3 of shutout innings so far. So they're kind of already in their midseason form, just mowing through guys. They've had a really nice start to spring. So I wanted to kind of give them their flowers on that one, as they've had a really nice start. Now some guys that are kind of battling out for, you know, we'll call them, the back end of the rotation job where it's seemingly wide open right now. Keaton Wins missed some time. He's supposed to be back, I think, next week. Uh, Tristan Beck is likely to be out for 3 or 4 months with an arm aneurysm, which is kind of a scary thing, but hopefully, everything goes well with his surgery and he'll be back relatively soon. But it does sound like he's going to be out several months. So that fifth starter spot does seem to be kind of wide open. Mason Black has thrown, he's pitched 2 innings or 2 starts now. He's thrown 5 innings. His first start, tell he had those a little bit of jitters, gave up 2 runs in the 2 innings. Just pitched again today against the Padres. Went 3 innings, had a 1-2-3 first, struck out all three, or struck out three. Sorry, not a 1-2-3. He had a struck out 3 hitters in the first inning, did give up a double, but only gave up 1 run in the 3 innings. He looked a lot better today against the Padres. So, that's just a name to keep an eye on. He has 13 starts in AAA. He very well may be the guy that he could win that fifth starter spot going into the season. So keep an eye on him. He's shown a little bit of something. Couple bullpen guys. Obviously, there's at least one left-handed pen arm available, or spot available in the bullpen. Possibly two, because the pen right now, there's about 5 or 6 guys that are kind of locked in, more than likely, and there's a couple spots on the back end, and a couple guys that are really in competition. There's 3 left-handers that are in competition for those 1 or 2 spots, possibly, and that'd be Amir Garrett, Ethan Small, and Eric Miller. Well, Amir Garrett got kind of lit up his first outing. He bounced back today, had a nice inning, shutout inning. But Ethan Small, who, he did take the loss today, but he's gone 3 2/3 innings, only given up 1 earned run. That first game he pitched in through 2 nice innings. He's got that really funky delivery, very deceptive. Doesn't have overwhelming stuff, but does have some nice movement. So keep an eye on him. He's had a, overall good spring so far. The other one is Eric Miller, who's 2 innings pitched. He did give up 1 earned run in the first. He gave up a solo home run. That's the only hit or walk or anything he's given up. They just got him for a home run. But second game, he came in and had a shutout inning, 1-2-3 inning. Looked really good. He's a guy that I really expect to be in the pen this year. Really good stuff. High 90s, slider, changeup. All really good pitches. Just has some command issues that, if he can tighten up a little bit, could end up being a really good power left-handed arm coming out of the pen, which they don't have anywhere else. It's really just the power arms they have right now is pretty much Doval in the pen. So he'd be a nice change of pace to have another, good power arm, especially coming from the left side. So those are kind of my observations for the first week of spring training. Those are the guys that have stood out so far. We'll try and do this each week till the end. Hopefully they start cutting down the rosters a little bit, so some of these guys get a little bit more regular playing time. There's a lot of guys that were in high A and double A that are getting, and non-roster invites that are getting kind of their first big league camp, taste of big league camp, that are just kind of going to be there for a week or two. Hopefully they start narrowing that down, because having 60 some odd guys in the pen or in the dugout, it's kind of ridiculous right now. So as always, if you like the content, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate the support from everyone. Probably not going to have anything coming out tomorrow. We'll get back at it on Monday, barring any big news. If Blake Snell signs or something like that, we'll absolutely be dropping a video for that. But otherwise, we'll catch you on Monday. Have a good one.